So yesterday I had an absolutely phenomenal key on stream playing Feral Druid and actually managed to hit 2 points, 2720 IO right now on the Feral. It's looking like a real solid season for Feral Druid, which is rare, so we're taking full advantage of it on the stream and everything. And I wanted to bring you guys a YouTube video today talking about a Gambit that I did where I managed to do a pretty decent amount of shmamage. So I wanted to show a bit of that off, talk to you about this new build that I've been playing with, and just kind of show you off a little bit of that. So starting off with things, the build I'm playing this week, it's Fortified. I'll show you right now. It's Fortified, Bursting, Storming, okay? So for me, the main thing is that it's Fortified and that you can pull big. That's what matters. So I'm playing a build where I'm actually going Circle of Life and Death. So I'm playing Circle, and then I'm going higher Mastery. I don't have a whole lot of gear to like move things around and stuff, especially with tier sets. But higher Mastery, higher Haste, not Mastery, higher Haste, and then Circle, and then you run these talents. Okay, so you run Savage Roar, MOC, Pred. Now you could play this with Blood Talons, but I do feel like it's a little bit hairy at times, so you have to be careful of it. But the main feature here as well is that I'm still Night Fae. I'm still Night Fae Convoker, okay? So it's kind of like the Necrolord build, except you're playing MOC, you're not playing Frenzy, you're also playing Night Fae, and then, yeah, so it's kind of like an adaptation of that. Conduits are still the regular stuff, Nia, and the, you know, the whole shebang, Conflux, Carnivorous. So with that being said, I'll show you then a little bit of some of the action then and how things kind of went down. So this was a 24 Gambit, did this yesterday, so Thursday, and it didn't start really clean, right? Like I had some issues here where I end up dying, but everything comes in. We have a really, really nice pull. Get my Savage Roar up immediately as soon as I can. Then I Berserk everything, Convoke, and I even Shadow Meld, but it's not enough. And I actually, okay, yeah, so I managed to peak, what, 170k AoE there, which is pretty good. And then I think I actually died to, like, standing in the water when a Tide Burst goes off or some shit. So, yeah. I died there to that, so it's like, whatever. So I lose my Scar stacks, which is a little bit of a bummer. And actually, I'll kind of jump back and let you guys know. So I'm playing the Scars Trinket. And the way that you want this thing to work is you want to sit at 4 stacks of your Scars Trinket. You only want to go to 5 and use the 5th stack when you are going into like a massive AoE pull, and I mean like big AoE pull, and you've got your cooldowns available. It's more so the secondary stats gain that you care about rather than the explosion. Now for me, I've got a 285 version, so a normal fated. So it's 285, and it does like 350k, sometimes a bit more on big AoE pulls if I can time it nicely. Whereas at 311, it'll probably do, I don't know, should probably double that. So I'm using the Scars Trinket. One thing you can do is before the key goes in is you can get 1 stack of it. Then after you start the key and the shield breaks, then you can get a 2nd stack, and then you can continue your area of combat. So that's how you're kind of trying to stack it early on in a Mythic Plus. You can also pre-convoke. So as the key, you know, as the time 10, 9, 8, 7, as time it gets to 1, maybe 2 seconds, you convoke, and then it will reset your convoke, but you'll maintain the Nia's Invigoration stacks, so you'll have 16 stacks, which is like 400 mastery. You can then go into combat, and as long as you get into combat within the first, like, I think you have something like 16 seconds left to get into combat. As long as you do that, and you convoke again, you'll have your double stack mastery. So it's really, really big, really important. So I'm pre-Scars Trinketing, pre-convoking, and then when we get into combat, making sure that I'm like leaving combat with as many combo points as possible so that I can pre-Savage Roar, which you can do in stealth. And then you can get into packs and you look into Tiger Fury, Berserk, Primal Wrath, then Convoke. So you get massive mastery during these big Berserk Convoke stages, getting huge mastery from Nia. So my Berserk phases should be really big when I have it with Convoke because of Nia's Invigoration. So it's kind of like Necrolord in the sense that you're getting Adaptive Swarm on things, but instead of Adaptive Swarm increasing the potency of your bleeds, you're instead just getting Massive Mastery, which is going to increase the potency of your bleeds. And you can see so far, it's playing pretty well, right? First pull of the dungeon, I'm competing with the Warlock. which is pretty cool. And something to note as well, right, is that I do have warrior buff in this key. Warlock doesn't have anything. But if I say had like warrior plus monk buff plus PI plus Fey Guardians, right, this would be a very strong build. And you know, I'll take you through it until the end, and you can see how it fares up. But we're doing these pulls. The timings of these line up fairly well with when my cooldowns are happening. I'm convoking here irrespective of Berserk, and this pull right now, I'm just shy of getting my Berserk up. I think I can just about get it, and I can't remember if I slam it or not. But the way that we did this route was actually really, really good. And if you can take note, I mean, you can rewatch the VOD as many times as you want, but this was a really good route for me as a feral. Okay, yeah, so I end up saving my Berserk here, which is good, because then the next pull after this lines up very, very nicely. You can see, I mean, look at the overall damage. I'm doing 44k. This is without anything in particular to, like, really heighten this. But I'm playing a build where I'm MOCing, right? So I'm just swiping an AoE, maintaining Thrash, and then Primal Wrathing. You want to be Primal Wrathing on 4 or more targets, and you stop biting. And then just Convoking and Berserking whenever I can. I don't mind about desyncing my Berserk. So it doesn't matter if Berserk and Convoke aren't there at the same time. That's okay. You can Convoke without Berserk. You can Berserk without Convoke. But I also, I think, committed my 5-stack trinket as well on either that pack or the previous pack. So I'm now having to rebuild it. And this is something that I should be doing now. You can see it's available. I'm not in combat and I'm not building it up. But I do have 5 combat points. I got my Savage Roll ready. Gonna go into combat here. And now I have absolutely everything. So this should be another really good opportunity for damage. So yeah. Pull an aggro, Shadow Meld, doesn't matter. I know a lot of people say, oh, but Sai, you're going to regain aggro as soon as you leave Shadow Meld. Not actually true. In theory, that's how it works, but not actually true, because when you're actually in combat, if you stop attacking for that split second, you drop aggro for that split second, it's enough time for your tank to regain aggro, and also other people in the dungeon to also be doing more damage and potentially, like, split aggro more evenly. So you won't just have max aggro on everything. So it actually works out just fine. So you can Shadow Meld and then immediately break and you're chilling. But yeah, some of these pulls, I mean, doing really, really well. It's not really a complex build. It's just swiping an AoE. Very easy for me to, like, stream, focus on chat, have conversations, hang out with people. Not really have to focus too hard on the content. And the only thing I have to maintain is Savage Roar and my Scars stacks. And it's cool, it's chill. Because I've been playing a lot of Necrolord, and like streaming Necrolord and then also tracking my Scars trinkets, plus Savage Roar, plus Adaptive Swarm, plus then just actually playing out the key and managing the stuff in the key. I find it's just a little bit like, I can do it, but it's just awkward to then engage with chat and like have meaningful discussion, because I end up, oh yeah, and flesh crafting constantly. I end up forgetting things and or like, you know, mistiming things slightly, and it's like, it's not as nice for me. So I like playing this build because it's a little bit more chill. But the big benefit is you maintain single target. So you actually have really good single target with this build because you're still playing Savage Roar. Sorry, you're still playing Night Fae. You're still playing Convoke, which means your single target is actually really, really good. And I'll show you when we get to the first boss. So I've been hitting you guys with a lot of information. I'm just taking a moment to actually chill out for a second, you know? Give you guys a moment. And I'm actually gonna skip ahead a little bit. Oh, we did have a funny little interaction there. A funny interaction, we tried to pull stealth. Oh, I get a bat on me. Boom, big hibernate. I think I'm gonna be locked in combat, I'm fine. Oh, suddenly, where's my Warlock? What's my Warlock doing? Pulls a mob, almost gets me in combat. I'm waiting here to see if I'm safe, and I end up being okay, which is quite funny, but it gives me time to get my food buff. I'm at 4 stacks of my Scars, so we're looking good. We're looking good there. Pull in one of the infiltrators here. Now, I have my Scars stacks. I don't think I use them on pull. You can use your Scars stacks, like, and pop to 5 when the boss is like almost dead or something. But in this dungeon, right after this boss, we go big in an AoE pull, so I don't actually really want to do that. But you see here with this pull, doing an 18k opener, even without Berserk, so it's like decent. But you can see as the fight goes on, it gets a little bit better. Gets a little bit better. We got a nice 4-target cleave. Now take a moment to actually talk about stuff that I've been going on. That's been happening for me on the channel as well. So I've been playing a lot of dungeons with like this pre-made. So Suslog here, the Wrestler Shaman. Play with him and a couple other guys. Blood DK, Till, play with a Warlock and a Hunter as well. Venth is the Hunter and Seuss or something is the Warlock. I actually cannot remember the name of the Warlock, but that's my bad. I'll be honest, I don't really look at the Warlocks. There's no disrespect to them as a person. It's just like I don't look at purple class. So, you know, how am I supposed to know? But I've been playing a lot with them. Managed to get up to 2720. So I'm currently rank 2 Feral as of me last checking, which was like yesterday. And I'm not far from rank 1. So pretty happy with that, pretty content with that, considering like I've been trying to do a bunch of other stuff. I'm doing my Shadow Priest 0 to Hero on the channel. I've been playing like a little bit of Hunter, a little bit of Assassination Rogue, bit of Enhance, playing some TFT. Just like trying to be more well-rounded and not just stick to like just pushing Mythic Plus endlessly, blinded all day, every day, pushing Mythic Plus. So trying to actually do other things as well. Yeah, so it's been going pretty well. We've been pushing all right. Also, Dog Dots is somebody I play with as well. We play, me, him, a few others. We play with Kona as well. You might know Kona as a streamer, or Konas. And so we've been playing a bit as well, but they play later in the evenings, whereas Suslog and the guys, Suslog can play in the day when I play, but then also it kind of overlaps nicely on certain days of the week where I can play with them, and it shifts over nicely. So hopefully going forward, I should have a little bit more of like a pre-made going on. The only reason I think I found people that actually want to play with me on my Feral this season is because Feral is actually not completely dog shit trash this season. But yeah, so look at this. So overall in this boss, I ended up doing like 14k. It's not bad. It's not incredible, but like all throughout the fight, I'm like holding up to, and the reason I drop off here is because I lose my scar stacks as well because I die. But we end up, I was peaking up at like 18k or something, like a decent portion into the fight. So pretty good considering this boss as well. Like you drop combat for a bit of time, right? When you have to do the phasing. But we're going into this next pull. I know it's going to be a big one. We got Bloodlust available. I've got Berserk. I've got Convoke upcoming. I'm trying to keep my scars stacked up. Unfortunately, because I died, I didn't have scars for this pull. But I would have absolutely popped scars here for this pull. But we didn't have it. Because I died. And I died because I didn't use a defensive. If you actually go back and look at the VOD of the dungeon, where my camera isn't... I mean, my camera's covering me right now. But I go back and watch it, and I'm just dancing. I'm actually dancing and I die and I don't even make a change. But here, so I go in, get my Savage Roar up, I Berserk, Tiger Fury, Primal Wrath, then Berserk, then Convoke. Decent burst up here, 70k. It's doing okay, it's doing alright. Pretty good. Pull aggro again, so I Shadow Meld. A lot of people going, oh, sorry, why do you go back to Night Elf? Big reason is because I get to use the Vicious, like, War Saber or something. Looks really cool. But also, I get to Shadow Meld. And it's really good. Getting the Shadow Meld off is really good. Dropping aggro is the only way I'm like staying alive in some of these things. But look at my damage overall at this point in the key. 32.5k. That's pretty good. And this is with a couple issues, right? This is with a couple deaths. So imagine if this had been like that much of a cleaner key. Now we're in a position here. I'm at 4 stacks of my scars, so we're looking good. I've got Convoke. I can have Berserk up for this pull right here. 40 seconds on it. I know when I Convoke as well, I might get a couple bites, which is going to help it. But we lose the Warlock here. He ends up dying there. A little bit of an aggro issue. Got a res. Warlock just releases. Sperry, that's all good. Tank gets slept and then dies. So we end up wiping. But I would have had Berserk for that pull. I would have absolutely had Berserk for that pull. But we have to reset now. Now I lose my scar stacks again. So this trinket is really good, but if your dungeon is not going clean, it could be really damaging. But here, now I do have Berserk for this pull, so it's kind of like... I've actually ultimately lost out here. I've lost damage here, because now we have to do this pull. It's not quite as big as it was, and I don't have scar stacks. But I would have been able to have a 5-stack commit here as well if I didn't have it on the previous pull, if I hadn't died on the first boss. So... this could have been a lot better. Ugh, this could have been a lot better, but it's going okay. Going okay. Big stretch, big stretch. So I kind of fast forward a little bit through the dungeon. I know I could be editing this, but just deal with it. We go through, kill this boss here. Now this is a pure single target boss, you know, in theory, right? You can pad a little bit on the ads, you get Predator reset, but this is the main bulk of the fight. I'm doing pretty well. On single target, you're just trying to maintain, because you're not playing Sabretooth, you're going to not be able to refresh your rip with that, so you're going to be making sure that you're slowing your rotation down a little bit, and making sure that you're watching your Savage Raw timing. You can refresh it at anywhere under, I think, 9 seconds. It'll Pandemic, so it'll add, the timer that's remaining will add on to the new Savage Raw. So your Savage Raw goes up to like 42 seconds, I believe, up from 36. So... you can do that. Also make sure that you're re-ripping anywhere under 7 seconds. Re-rake anywhere under 4 seconds. I think you're fine with that. So make sure you're doing that. Just the basics. Nothing too crazy. But like, look at my single target here. I haven't gotten any Predator resets on any of these ads, which I could have been doing. But I'm doing 18k. The boss is at 30% health. Like, this is pretty good. And look, now I got another Convoke here available. It's like really quite good. Look, I'm doing 20k DPS by the time this boss dies. This for me is the difference between this and going Necro Lord. You could even play this build, I think, on single target week. Like, I think you could even play this. Again, it's Circle, it's Savage Raw, it's MOC, Predator, Night Fae. You could probably get away with playing this on Tyrannical week. The only thing is that you're, like, you can only play this build, and this is something that I actually haven't spoken about. When can you use this build? The best time to be using this build is on Fortified week, specifically in Gambit. Lower Kara are two perfect ones. You can also do Mechagon Junkyard, but I don't like love it in Junkyard. The good thing about this, you're playing Haste, right? You guys can see at the top right, I'm playing Haste as the Shrouded affix. So it benefits, this build benefits from going Haste in Junkyard, but, and I think you could do this in Junkyard, but it kind of plays around like massive AoE pulls. So that's kind of what you want. Now you could also potentially play it in Iron Docks, though I think that dungeon is perfect for Apex. You could also maybe play it in Grimrail, depending on how your tank pulls. But those are kind of the situations where you're going to play this build. Definitely in Gambit, definitely in Lower Kara, maybe in Junkyard, maybe in Grimrail, maybe in Iron Docks. I did a Lower Kara after this, a 22 Kara that had like, we probably had 20 deaths in that key, had a lot of problems, we timed it, but I did 25k overall. I think I even beat the Warlock in it, or I beat the Hunter, I beat one of them. Another pull here in this key as well. I wasn't sure if we were going to chain in the patrol, so I actually didn't use a Convoke, didn't use a Berserk. So I could have gotten an extra Berserk in this key as well. Or, well, definitely an extra Convoke, potentially an extra Berserk here as well. But I have it here for this massive pull. Commit it here. At this point in the dungeon, we're still holding 30k DPS. Big 100k peak here is going to bump up my numbers even more. And we're looking really, really good. It's just feels like a good build. Now the name of this build that a lot of people have been asking, they're like, right side, what do we call this? For me, this build is called the Meow Uwu Kawaii build. And that's what you have to tell people when you talk to them about this. If you play this build, somebody goes, yo, Dave, what's going on, man? What's that new feral build you've been popping off with? Because you've been doing some big damage. What's that called? Is there a name for that? Where'd you get it? You say, look, my boy Psybearslat came up with it, invented it. He's a crafter. And this is what it's called. And you hit him with it. But yeah, so this is kind of the key. This is how it's working out. finishing up that last bit of trash. Nothing kind of crazy happens here. But by all the trash in the dungeon is dead. Right, all the trash in the dungeon is dead. I'm at 30.2k. Have you ever seen a feral do this much damage in this key? I've seen meta specs do less damage than this in this key. I do 30k overall. Now we get onto the last boss. Of course, that's gonna drop it down that little bit. I'll be honest, I'm gonna skip through the last boss because nothing really happens, and I can't be bothered to throw this into an editor, so I'm just gonna skip through it. But there's the key there. So we drop from like 30k overall, go on to the last boss, and deal with it in like 3 minutes 30. And we get 27.7. Near enough 28k overall, rounded up a little bit. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now, this build, like I said, yes, okay, you're only going to play it in the big uncapped AoE dungeons. However, when you do those dungeons, you have a really good build. You don't have to go level up Necrolord. You don't have to switch all that kind of stuff around. You can just play this. So I like it. I think I showed the damage breakdown. Yeah, there you go. This is damage breakdown for you as well. So big rip damage, big sickle damage as you'd expect. A lot of swipe damage as well. I like the MOC plus a bit of verse plus, you know, the buffs that happen to swipe as well. So I like that. Not really biting that often, but the damage in general, pretty good. Final rune did like 750k, 740k. That's cool. That's at a normal level. So imagine if that was Mythic as well. But I hope you guys like this video. Please come check me out at twitch.tv/Psybear_TV. You can come ask your questions and stuff directly. And just kind of check it out. Watch me doing keys, push in Monday to Friday. Sometimes I'm playing Feral, sometimes I'm playing some other things. But more often than not, I'm playing a lot of Feral. Hope you enjoyed this dungeon, and I'll see you in the next one.